In other updates that we are tracking at this point, fugitive liquor baron Vijay Mallya has got temporary relief from the UK court in his extradition case to India. These are the latest visuals that we're getting to you from right outside the court premises. The UK court has allowed Vijay Mallya to appeal against his extradition. And now Vijay Mallya's case will be heard in the appeals court. These were arguments that were taking place at the Royal Court of Justice, the ruling coming as a temporary relief for the embattled business tycoon. This was one of the last legal avenues, in a way, that was open to him to avoid extradition.
His decision was appealable. That means the most to me.
Not concerned about the political allegations. This was a business.
Look.
All right, we have heard partially what Vijay Mallya had to say, just a few words that we just heard there. His reaction post those arguments concluded. Let's go straight across now to our London Bureau Chief, Mandy Clark, who's also joining us on the broadcast. Mandy, you were present inside the court when those arguments took place. Tell our viewers what those arguments were centered around.
Yeah, and as you can see, Vijay Mallya is still behind me. He's talking to reporters about the fact that he does have permission to have that appeal court go forward. The main arguments that Claire Montgomery, his defense lawyer, put forth is that there was some questionable, there's questions around that evidence that was permitted. There was also questions around a number of other arguments, including the conditions of the jail, whether he'd get a fair trial, whether it was politically motivated. All those other grounds were rejected, but the judge did say there might be grounds, and there was ground one, where there might have been a question about the permissibility of that evidence, and based on that, they will hear the appeal. So there is yet to be a date decided, but it means that for now, he has won his right to appeal, to have that evidence back and before the court, just based on that evidence, so we can expect it within the coming months.
Right. You've been speaking to a number of experts as well. Mandy, what have they been telling you? Does today's verdict come along expected lines, given the track record that the UK courts have when it comes to extradition cases? And also, Vijay Mallya has been speaking to a number of media personnel through the day as well, both inside and outside the court. What has he been telling the reporters there? Well, when it broke for lunch, there was very little that he actually said. He smoked silent. He is a smoker. He didn't really comment on how it was going, but he has just come out and spoken to the reporters. There was a sense of relief, certainly, that it has allowed to go through. But throughout the day, he was fairly quiet, only really talking about the cricket, which is not unlike Vijay Mallya. But we will get a much better sense. There's certainly, when the evidence and the verdict was being read out, he was on the edge of his seat. He was intently listening. And when they did say they would grant that grounds for appeal, there was visible relief in his face. So certainly this was a tense day for him. It's an important decision day, but it's not over yet. The appeals court will take a few months before their verdict happens. So it certainly, he hasn't won anything, but it's a reprieve, it's a relief for Vijay Mallya. Right. If you can also break this down further for our viewers, this was the Royal Courts of Justice. The next step, of course, being the appeals court. What's the time frame that we're looking at over here? No set date is what we understand as of now.
Exactly. So what has to happen is both sides, the defense and the prosecution, have to sit down, find out, look at their timetables. It's going to be Claire Montgomery who will remain the lead for the defense, and along with the likely Mark Summers, who was the Crown Prosecution Service. They have to find dates that match in their diary. There has been some chatter amongst journalists, perhaps around September, but that is unclear. But we can expect at least in the coming months, once they decide a date, then there'll be a case management hearing, which essentially looks when the judge might be free as well. And then we can expect that appeals court process to go forward, just based on looking at that permissibility of evidence. That's going to last, in general, a few days, and then it takes a few months for that verdict. However, that's in general. What happens in court seems to be variable on each case, but we can expect at least a few months before a decision is made on this appeal.
All right, so that's what the time frame is looking like. For now, it's temporary relief for Vijay Mallya, as those arguments in the Royal Court of Justice have just concluded. As Mandy is telling us, it could be a few months before we know what things are certainly looking like for Vijay Mallya as far as the extradition case is concerned overall. But today's arguments, as Mandy is telling us, centered around the similar lines that we have been discussing over the last few months as the case goes on in the UK court. Vijay Mallya on your screens there speaking to reporters for a brief amount of time as well. We will, of course, take a listen into what exactly he's shared with the team of reporters just a few moments ago. Vijay Mallya reacting just moments after arguments concluded in the Royal Court of Justice. For now, he's been allowed to appeal against his extradition to India. The matter would now be taken up by the appeals court. We're going to leave it there for the moment, Mandy. Appreciate very much you joining us.